Tonight, failures of leadership and judgment by Number 10 and the Cabinet. The Sue Gray report into the Downing Street lockdown parties finds they should not have been allowed to happen.
I'm sorry for the things we simply didn't get right, and also sorry for the way that this matter has been handled.
Rather than come clean, every step of the way, he's insulted the public's intelligence.
A Met Police investigation into 12 parties continues. The SNP leader Ian Blackford leaves the Commons chamber, has feelings run high. Also making the headlines, back to work. The new normal as hybrid working gets underway.
On transfer deadline day, Aaron Ramsey touches down in Glasgow as Rangers close in on a sensational signing.
And I'll be here on the boogie bus as Edna celebrates her 101st birthday in style.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6.
Good evening. It's the result of weeks and weeks of waiting, but Sue Gray's report into Downing Street parties can be read within minutes. The civil servant highlights what she calls a serious failure of leadership and judgment.
The report was pared down after police asked for it to make minimal reference to events they are now investigating. This afternoon, the Prime Minister apologised and promised to make changes to how Number 10 is run. Live now to our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson. And Catherine, where does this leave us tonight?
Well, look, here it is, the Sue Gray report, or the Sue Gray update. Today we made us learn that there are now going to be Met investigations into 12 allegations of parties in Downing Street. One of these includes allegations of a party in the Prime Minister's own flat. Now, as you can see, this is not a long report. It's only 12 pages. Some may say this is a boost for the Prime Minister in the short term, but we can expect pressure, I think, to grow and grow for the full findings to be published, as the police today said they'd been handed a bundle of evidence, including 300 photographs. With a storm brewing in Westminster, you could say the Prime Minister was in search of any port this morning. He came to this one in Essex, struggling to shelter from questions about whether Sue Gray's report would be a whitewash.
You're going to have to wait and see both what Sue says and also, of course, what the Met says.
This afternoon, the wait was over, but Sue Gray only produced a pared-down update. In a document of just 12 pages, she confirmed police are investigating 12 events, most of which happened in Downing Street over a 20-month period. The Met has asked her to make minimal reference to them. She said, "I'm extremely limited in what I can say about those events. It's not possible at present to provide a meaningful report setting out and analysing the extensive factual information."
We're still going through the material and we haven't identified the number of people that we want to contact. That said, we are looking at fast-tracking it and we intend to contact them in a matter of weeks.
Sue Gray's report also refers to an excessive consumption of alcohol in the workplace. She said some staff didn't feel able to raise concerns. Writing, "There were failures of leadership and judgment by different parts of Number 10 and the Cabinet Office at different times."
Will you take responsibility, Prime Minister?
An hour later, the Prime Minister left Downing Street.
Has your leadership failed?
To come to the Commons and face MPs.
Firstly, I want to say sorry. And I'm sorry for the things we simply didn't get right, and also sorry for the way that this matter has been handled. That is why we are making changes now to the way Downing Street and the Cabinet Office run. Mr. Speaker, I get it and I will fix it. And I want to say to the people of this country, I know what the issue is. Yes, Mr. Speaker, yes. It's whether this government can be trusted to deliver. And I say, Mr. Speaker, yes, we can.
Even now, he is hiding behind a police investigation into criminality, into his home and his office. But, Prime Minister, the British public aren't fools. They never believed a word of it. They think the Prime Minister should do the decent thing and resign. Of course he won't, because he is a man without shame. And just as he has done throughout his life, he's damaged everyone and everything around him along the way.
He has been investigated by the police. He misled the House. He must now resign.
Ian Blackford was repeatedly asked to withdraw his misled remark.
As leader of the SNP, I don't want to have to throw you out. I'm going to give you this chance, please.
Please to power, that man has misled the House.
Would you like to inadvertently?
If the Prime Minister has inadvertently misled the House, then I will state that.
Right, we're going to leave it at that.
Anger from the opposition is expected, but with Boris Johnson determined to stay on, it's his backbenchers who hold the cards.
When he kindly invited me to see him 10 days ago, I told him that I thought he should think very carefully about what was now in the best interests of our country and of the Conservative Party. And I have to tell him he no longer enjoys my support.
And there was this swipe from the Prime Minister's predecessor.
So either my right honourable friend had not read the rules, or didn't understand what they meant, and others around him, or they didn't think the rules applied to number 10. Which was it?
Are they still in a holding zone, or will they want to make a move to oust him?
An eventful day, Catherine. So what happens next?
Well, look, in the next 20 minutes or so, the Prime Minister is due to address all his Conservative MPs. Now, I think a lot really depends on how that meeting goes. We're expecting Cabinet Ministers to be there, perhaps to try and rally the troops behind the Prime Minister. I have, in the last few minutes, heard from the Scottish Secretary, Alistair Jack, in a statement. Now, he's saying the Prime Minister has my full support. He has accepted the findings of the report and he has made a sincere apology. Now, I'm off to speak to Alistair Jack after this, so more from me later on Scotland Tonight.
Catherine at Westminster, thank you.
Well, a lot to take in, so our political editor Colin Mackay joins us now. Colin, where does this leave the Prime Minister and the work of government?
Well, the Prime Minister probably wanted to spend today talking about the second anniversary of Brexit. He probably wants to talk about the launch of their Levelling Up agenda on Wednesday. He's going to the Ukraine tomorrow. Now, earlier today, he was supposed to have a phone conversation with Russian President Putin. Now, to say all of this is a distraction is a massive understatement, because they tried to reschedule that phone call with President Putin, and that is something you just don't do with that level of world leader.
So it does beg the question, how does Boris Johnson's position look tonight, Colin?
Well, the Prime Minister's jacket was on a sugary peg before this. It actually looked like it was kind of being shored up a little bit, somewhat bizarrely, by the defection of one of his own MPs to the Labour Party, and also by being investigated by the Metropolitan Police. It was thought also, because this is an incredibly short report, really, in essence, it's actually just 6 pages of text, that it would actually get him off the hook a bit. But this is damning in its brevity. You know, failures of leadership, a culture of drinking. The Prime Minister took almost 2 hours of questions in the Commons this afternoon. The most damning, the most brutal ones came from his own benches. Theresa May, as you saw in Catherine's report there, basically asking if he was arrogant or stupid. So I think the key thing now is the meeting that comes in the next few hours with his Conservative MPs. That's what could decide whether he even lasts the week, let alone the year.
All right, Colin, a busy day in politics. Thanks very much for joining us.
In other news, thousands of workers across Scotland have been back in their offices today, some of them for the first time since the COVID pandemic began nearly 2 years ago. It follows the easing of government advice on working from home, which was stepped up before Christmas amid the surging number of cases of the virus at that time. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
Where do you want to work? That's a question many people will be asking themselves. For Rachel today, the answer, her office in Glasgow.
I actually joined the team last June, so I've only been here for 7 or 8 months, and the majority of that time has been spent at home, so I haven't had a lot of face-to-face time with my colleagues, so I'm quite happy to be getting back to that normality.
There are still many empty seats here at Equator, a digital agency. It's following government advice to implement a hybrid model for now, with a mix of in-office and at-home working.
Hi, Sean. Hey, Rachel, how are you?
17 miles away, Rachel's colleague Sean is in his back bedroom in Motherwell, and he hopes it can become a longer-term setup.
Yeah, I think having the hybrid model is going to work best for everybody. I appreciate kind of employers probably want everybody back full time, but I think the last 2 years have shown us that, the world has changed and we're not going to go back to that, the way things were. So I think it's good to have that flexibility going forward.
The wider economy around work, like the cafes and sandwich shops in Glasgow's business district, have taken a battering in the last couple of years. And on today's evidence, it'll be a while yet before the tills are ringing as they once did. With a signal affected by storm-induced power cuts at her home in the Highlands, the Economy Secretary told us things will evolve.
We need to work with businesses and with local authorities to try and ensure that there is still that footfall and there is still business opportunities in our city centre and town centres, even if it looks different to that which was before the pandemic.
That need to revitalise our city centres and give people an option of somewhere to work outside of a purely online world are among the reasons why shared working spaces are tipped to become a much bigger thing. In Edinburgh's George Street, this new venue combines space for emerging retail business with the opportunity to come and use it as a workplace.
We've had 2 years working from home. I feel like everyone has had enough and they're ready to get back out and enjoy some interaction and see some people in real life, so the appetite has been incredible.
Antoinette's clothing business has been built up online. She says a base like this is a huge step forward.
You design clothes. I'm not designing them to just talk about it online. I want to speak to people. I want to see it on them. I want to see the cut, the finish, because I also learn through that process.
Of course, for millions of people in a wide range of jobs, the picture doesn't lend itself to home or flexible working at all. Dealing with that potential divide in society could be the biggest challenge in the years to come.
And Gordon, it's not been a smooth transition back to the office for everyone today.
Yeah, let's not forget those who never had any option to work from home, people delivering vital services who've been out and about during the pandemic. And as for office jobs, commuting is a big way to see how busy that is. Storm Corrie causing problems today, mostly in the north, but in this area, trains from the Borders and Midlothian into Edinburgh were cancelled earlier because of the weather. So many there had an unexpected extra day of working from home. But of course, the rules mean they can now try again tomorrow, when hopefully it'll be a bit warmer too.
Gordon in Edinburgh, thank you.
On to other stories across Scotland now, and from today, people under the age of 22 can travel for free on buses. The initiative is aiming to reduce family costs and pave the way for greener travel throughout Scotland. Tens of thousands of people have applied so far, with nearly 1 million people eligible for the scheme.
Members of Scotland's largest teaching union have overwhelmingly voted to reject a new pay offer. The Educational Institute of Scotland said 98% of teachers who took part in the ballot voted to reject the offer of two 1% increases over 12 months. The EIS say they now expect an enhanced offer to be made when the union meet the Scottish Government and local authorities next week.
Now, nearly half of Scots don't yet have new smoke alarms installed, a day before laws making them compulsory come into force. A poll for STV News also shows many people are struggling with the cost, which for an average 3-bedroom house will be around £220.
From tomorrow, all homes must have interlinked devices, but the Scottish Government says people will not face penalties if they miss the deadline. Susan Ripple reports.
With the deadline looming, this company has been working flat out installing new smoke alarms. And given how busy they are,
you got to test, locate, silence and memory.
The owner of this house is relieved he's got a slot.
You heard it on the radio, you seen on TV adverts that the date was approaching. You heard it you seen it on the internet. Yet made everyone go and rush to go and do this job.
The main difference is that if one goes off, then they all go off, and that'll improve your chances of hearing it while you're sleeping. And in the kitchen, it's heat detectors, so that should mean that there's less false alarms from things like burnt toast.
We're fully booked, but obviously there'll be more business coming our way, so we need to try and accommodate everybody the best we can. And maybe you'll be waiting maybe a fortnight or so before we can actually get them fitted, and depends on the stock as well.
And many have been struggling to get a hold of the alarms, with companies having to cancel appointments at the last minute because of supply issues.
It's been really tough because we've got over 40 households waiting for the alarms. Obviously, it's coming to the end of January into February with the laws changing, so a lot of people are actually getting really distressed in that. Like I said, I think it's 46 homes we're waiting to do.
Scott Pulse has carried out a survey about the change in law for STV News. It shows awareness is high, with 92% saying they know about the new legislation. 57% say they've not had enough information. And many are struggling with the cost. More than 1 in 3 homeowners without an interlinked system say they couldn't afford it. And just 54% of those who responded have the new alarms and heat detectors already. Many have been calling for the changes to be delayed.
If people need a reasonable period of time beyond the 1st of February in order to get these installed, whether that's because of supply issues or finding tradespeople to come in, then of course they won't be criminalised, and it'll be for local authorities through building standard regulations to be the enforcers. But they're not going to be going and knocking on people's doors about this.
We lose the most number of people in their own home, so it's correct to target that and encourage people to install these detectors under an enforceable action. Now, it's interesting to know it's not a criminal offence if you fail to do so.
Homeowners are being encouraged to check with their insurers about what the changes mean for their policies. And it could be some time before all homes are up to date with the new law. Susan Ripple, STV News, Glasgow.
A new £30 million bypass around the Ayrshire town of Maybole has welcomed its first drivers. Campaigners say the route, which has been called for more than 2 decades, will prevent dangerous levels of traffic passing through the historic area. As Ollie Dickinson reports.
Passing through town in some cases just inches from pedestrians and other vehicles. Maybole's traffic problem has long been known, with its narrow, winding high street falling on the main route between the port of Stranraer and Glasgow. But that could all start to change from today, with the opening of this, a new £30 million bypass.
This investment in Maybole, I know, is going to be transformative for the people who live in the community here. And the campaign for the Maybole bypass has been ongoing for many years, but it's going to make a huge difference to the traffic in the town and to the quality of people's lives.
For those who live and work in the town, the new road is a welcome addition. June runs a florist's on the high street. Just 2 feet separate her front door from the main road.
You look to make sure what's coming up the street first before stepping out, because it's really narrow. In fact, I've got a delivery driver from Glasgow who tells me he'd rather deliver in the middle of Glasgow than deliver in Maybole. That's how badly he looks on the traffic.
The route will send the majority of traffic past the town on the new 5-kilometre journey. But local councillors say that will be a good thing for the town's shops, as roads busy with port traffic often prevent passing trade from parking up and spending their money.
We need to get better signposting off the bypass, because we don't want to actually be bypassed literally. You know, we want people to actually come in, know there's a petrol station, know there are restaurants, places to eat, little boutique shops will hopefully make a comeback. Those that have survived have done amazing jobs of actually getting through. So yeah, the investment shouldn't stop, and the investment will have to come from people supporting the transformation.
And the bypass has already welcomed its first drivers, with many hundreds of thousands more expected in the coming months. Ollie Dickinson, STV News.
Transfer deadline day, a lot's been happening, so straight to Raman.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Yes, it has been a busy one. Good evening. Rangers are on the brink of signing Aaron Ramsey on loan from Juventus. With the very latest on this and the rest of today's transfer news on deadline day, let's cross to Ronnie Charters. And Ronnie, this is quite a coup for Rangers, isn't it?
It certainly is, Raman. This one took everyone by surprise, I think, this morning. But Rangers are indeed closing in on a 6-month loan deal for the Welsh international. Ramsey arrived in Glasgow this afternoon, along with his agent, to thrash out a deal. We understand Rangers will pay a loan fee to Juventus and will have an option to buy the midfielder in the summer. Ramsey, of course, has experience at the highest level. A winner of the Serie A title with Juve, played over 200 games for Arsenal and helped Wales to the Euro semis in 2016. We now expect him to be playing his football at Ibrox. Elsewhere, Rangers also confirmed the signing of Polish under-21 defender Mateusz Zukowski from Legia Gdansk. The right-back arrives for an undisclosed fee and has signed a 3.5-year deal with Rangers. He'll be the replacement for Nathan Patterson, who left for Everton. One other line from Rangers in terms of incomings, and there is no movement yet on a deal to bring John Souttar to Ibrox this window. A pre-contract has already been signed, but do not rule out a late attempt by Rangers to bring Souttar in this window. Brandon Barker also left the club today by mutual consent. Over to Celtic, Uzi Urugiri is heading out on loan. The defender has joined Belgian side Oostende on a deal until the end of the season. No other major movements at Parkhead as it stands at the moment, so it's 5 players in this window for Ange Postecoglou.
So, Ronnie, that's what's happening at Rangers and Celtic. What other deals have taken place?
Well, St Mirren have signed former Rangers and Kelly winger Jordan Jones on loan from Wigan until the end of the season. Jones has already been training with his new teammates this morning and says it was Goodwin who persuaded him on a move.
It was the key thing, to be honest. Like I say, I spoke with a few managers and I've learned throughout my career now to just go with your gut feeling. I got the best feeling off the manager. Spoke with my dad about it. Spoke with my family, spoke with my agent and a couple of people who I really trust, and they just said go with your gut.
Well, elsewhere, Jim Goodwin admits it's 50-50 as to whether Jamie McGrath will remain at the club before the deadline. The midfielder's out of contract in the summer, but is staying in Paisley at the moment. Last bit of news, it's from Motherwell. Not expecting anything from the Steelman. Defender Ricky Lamy has signed a pre-contract with Dundee. Motherwell rejected a bid from Dundee this morning. We understand it was nowhere near the valuation of the player. They will only go back into the market should Lamy be sold. So there we are, Raman. 5 hours, 40 minutes left before the window slams shut. Just a reminder of that big news. Juventus midfielder Aaron Ramsey in Glasgow to complete his loan move to Rangers. Back to you,
Ronnie, with the very latest ins and outs. Thanks very much for that. To rugby, and Scotland assistant Steve Tandy is calling on the squad to create more memories and build on their Six Nations win over England at Twickenham last year. The Scots welcome Eddie Jones' side to Murrayfield for the championship opener on Saturday, and Tandy says the squad have improved since their memorable win in London.
Winning in Twickenham against an outstanding England team was huge trust, and then you start to build more belief in around performances and how in around your game as well. So look, it was unbelievable day, but that's just the memory now, and we need to create more, and we need to put another huge performance in come Saturday.
And that's it from me for tonight, folks. But don't forget, get the very latest transfer news on our website, stv.tv/sport.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sport, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
OK, Sean has the weather now, and it's all about the wind.
Well, an extreme weekend with those damaging gusts of wind from Malik and Corrie, and very unusual to get 2 named storms in 2 days. We usually get 1 or 2 a month, never mind in just a couple of days. And it has been fairly quiet so far this winter, but we've seen gusts of wind at the weekend, 70 to 75 miles per hour in places, gusts over 80 miles per hour over the tops of some of our hills. But in the north of the country, they had gusts of wind in the Cairngorms up to about 150 miles per hour and even over 90 miles per hour in the Isle of Lewis and also parts of Aberdeenshire, and reports over 100 on Benbecula. So an extreme weekend. There'll still be some windy spells in the coming days, but nothing as bad as this. Let's have a look.
A light drizzle is coming in from the west. TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
Well, after that extreme weekend, I just want to start off by showing you the pressure chart. Now, storm-wise, you'd be looking for something like this. Tightly packed isobars. There's not too much around for a couple of days, but then towards the end of the week, the isobars start to tighten up and we see lots of wind arrows appearing on the map. But I just want to take a wee second to reassure you, because it was a bit scary at times at the weekend, those gusty winds and damage in places. Things this week will be windy at times, but not at the levels from Mallock and also Corrie. So gusts of wind 60, possibly 70, but not at those sort of levels once again. So hopefully that reassures you a little bit. Now the winds will be picking up tonight. We could see gusts of wind 60, maybe 65 in the most exposed parts of the northwest across the islands, and there will be rain coming in as well, turning very mild by the end of the night, 10 or 11 degrees Celsius, then into slightly fresher air once again tomorrow. So we start off with clouds, some rain early on tomorrow. That clears away, and for many of us the weather will be similar to today, a lot of bright weather, staying rather blustery across northwestern parts, and temperatures slowly coming down in the afternoon. But then we see a return to milder air on Wednesday, some rain coming in as well, and then it's towards Thursday, Friday, Saturday we see some gusty winds around. But as I said, possibility of 60, maybe 70 in the most exposed areas. So again, not as bad as at the weekend, turning colder briefly with some wintry showers on Friday.
TUI Blue Hotels, sponsor STV Weather.
And finally, you may remember STV News superfan Edna. Well, staff at her care home in Glasgow had put out an appeal for cards in a bid to make her 101st birthday special.
Well, today was that birthday, and as well as receiving many, many cards, she took a trip on Glasgow's boogie bus. Polly Bartlett joined the party.
Happy birthday to you.
What a difference a year makes. 101-year-old Edna Clayton spent her last birthday alone during lockdown. So this year, thousands and thousands of strangers stepped in.
Wonderful, wonderful. I never had one like it. Oh, this is first class.
Care home staff wanted to make Edna's birthday special, so they appealed online for people to send in cards. But no one expected this.
We're surrounded by 30,000 cards. She's been treated like a queen. We've been absolutely overwhelmed by the amount of not only cards but gifts and flowers.
Letters arrived from all over the world, and local well-wishers too.
I heard that she was on her own for her 100th birthday, and well, we can't have her 101st going by with a wee bit of fuss.
Oh, it was wonderful. I actually didn't know if we'd get to meet her or not, so I thought we were just going to hand it in, but she came to the door, and how sweet was she? She was with her son, and she's having a great day. You know, you can tell she's just got a big smile on her face.
Among the visitors, Edna's godson, who only found out she was alive when he saw our last report on STV.
I thought she had passed away. It was an emotional day.
Celebrating in style, Edna was treated to a trip on the boogie bus, and she received her belated card from the Queen. But the highlight of her day, a surprise visit from her son, who she hadn't seen because of lockdown restrictions.
What more can you ask for?
Edna has lived through a world war, 25 prime ministers, and now a global pandemic. But her constant through it all is watching the news on STV.
I used to watch John at 6 o'clock on STV. He's lost his hair a bit. But he's still as handsome as ever. Tell him that.
Just in case you didn't know John, OK? Looking fantastic, Edna. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Edna. Thank you all. Good night.
Bye.